Welcome everyone to NizCast. I'm Niz, and we've got a very, very important match in front of us. Well, actually, all the matches from here on out are going to be very important because we've got the winners bracket finals. Tomorrow we've got scheduled the losers bracket finals. And then it's on to the grand finals where we will finally close out the Dota 2 Canada Cup Season 6 and find out who will be our champion. We've got 3 teams left. compLexity, Elite Wolves, and then waiting in the losers bracket for whichever the loser of this best of 3 will be is Infamous. So one of those 3 teams will be our champion, but we've got a few series to get through, 2 best of 3s before we get that big grand final best of 5 to sort it out between the top 2.
Team ban.
We've got compLexity. They had to knock off Digital Chaos in the first round. They beat them 2-1. Then they had to dispose of Shazam 2-0. And that's how they got to this point. Elite Wolves, they also had a pretty big challenger to start things off. They had to go up against Archon, which they also won 2-1 against. And then they beat Infamous, which, like I said, we've got waiting in our losers bracket finals. But that's how they got here. And just a couple hours, maybe an hour or so ago, before this broadcast, we actually had compLexity play up against Digital Chaos.
10 seconds.
But it was the captain's draft thing, so it's not exactly the same. But I'm not going to spoil you guys on the results of that. But outside of that, compLexity,
Reserve time.
in the last month, when you just look at their win rate, and once again, not including captain's draft, because I don't really think that fits into our normal stats and our normal analysis on looking at win rates and pick rates and stuff like that. But compLexity, they've been doing okay. They're 22-18 on the month, which you compare that to Elite Wolves, which are looking fantastic at 40-7.
Turn to ban.
You see a huge big discrepancy there, and you have to think Elite Wolves, with those records, they've got to be going in as the big favorite. But you take a look at betting sites, and it's 71-29, 62-38, something like that, always in favor of compLexity. And when you actually go and look at those wins, you see, well, compLexity, some of their wins, some of their losses, a lot of them are in MDL going up against teams like eHome, LGD, Mineski. I think I already mentioned eHome, but like some big name teams, some really stiff competition. You take a look at Elite Wolves games. They've been again in kind of lower tier tournaments, not necessarily against the strongest teams, or certainly not the teams on the same tier as eHome. I'm not really sure if anyone is right now, but yeah, not of the same caliber, but still, you know, they've been consistent and they've been just popping out those wins. And I mean, obviously they had to have popped out a bunch of wins to get here. So I'm not really sure what the odds are in this game. Like I said, Elite Wolves have been playing really, really well, but so have compLexity. So it'll be interesting to see how these two teams square off here, and we get to see who will move on. But without further ado, let's jump into the draft. We've got Bat, Oracle, Mirana, and Enchantress getting banned out by compLexity. That Mirana is really, really interesting, as that's actually Masoku's been playing a lot of support roaming Mirana. We're not going to see it this game, but that's the reason for that ban. As for Elite Wolves, we've got Wisp, Earth Spirit, Brewmaster, and Spirit Breaker. All pretty big picks for compLexity, and they're all going to get removed this game. We've got Darkseer, Witch Doctor, Bounty Hunter, and Gyrocopter getting picked up by compLexity. Elite Wolves went after the Vengeful Spirit, Lone Druid, and Beastmaster. And we've certainly seen Beastmaster get played very, very well by Smash in the past, so look forward to that. And even Ewo, one of his top picks is going to be that Lone Druid. So Elite Wolves are looking pretty strong so far with their early picks, but with that Gyrocopter pick, we've seen compLexity do some big things with that, putting that in the mid lane. Although they haven't fully committed to putting in the mid lane, we have seen it get run safe lane. They give it to Chessie, put him safe lane, and they've done very, very well with it as well.
compLexity's turn to ban.
And now a Dazzle gets added on for Elite Wolves. As that looks like it's probably going to be MGod's hero, and that means we're going to have Masoku playing that Vengeful Spirit. We expect Ewo on the Lone Druid and Smash on the Beastmaster. So now it's just Van's hero to close things out. So looking for his hero as we move into our last
Reserve
Last
time.
ban here. As you'll notice, actually, there's a lot of reserve time missing from Elite Wolves, and they spent the vast majority of that, over a minute, on their second ban, which I thought was very, very surprising. Yeah, they took their time and then eventually decided they were going to ban out the Earth Spirit. And as soon as they banned that, immediately compLexity just banned Oracle and said, you know what, these guys, obviously, they're on the fence on what they want to do. So let's just fire out our ban immediately. We knew what we wanted to ban. Let's ban it and just force them to pick and put some time pressure on them for the draft. But what that's done is compLexity knew what they wanted starting off. They were able to make their picks and their bans,
Radiant team
and
back.
they get that extra little bit of reserve time for when they need it. And they felt like they needed it here with their 5th ban. They took over a minute of their over a minute extra to ban out that Outroll Devour.
10
As
seconds.
that's been
remaining.
one of the big heroes for Van recently as well. So
5 seconds remaining.
trying to ban out that mid lane.
Reserve time.
As for Elite Wolves, who do you ban out here? Well, there we go. I don't even get to
compLexity's turn
sit there and
to
think
pick.
about it. It's going to be the Death Prophet, and then compLexity's going to pick up the Invoker. I was going to say,
Radiant team
you know, they've played a lot of Death Prophet. They've played a lot of Invoker. Both heroes would work very well with this lineup. They've also played some Viper, and I'm not really a fan of Viper in this lineup. So I think it was going to be either Invoker or Death Prophet, and I wish I had been a little bit quicker to that point because it would have made me look smart. As the Death Prophet and the Invoker are either banned or picked
10
there.
seconds remaining.
Now, Elite Wolves, with their final pick, this could be
5
a
seconds
lot of
remaining.
heroes. They have actually played quite a bit of Templar Assassin. I don't know if
10 seconds
that's necessarily
remaining.
what they're going to go for here. It's strong against the Invoker, but they're going to go Tinker instead. Wow. This could be a little bit of a drawn-out game from Elite Wolves with the Tinker and the Lone Druid kind of investing strong in that late game. Their uphill kind of wave clear and base defense isn't actually the strongest outside of the Tinker. Yeah, they've got not wolves, axes from the Beastmaster, but beyond that, it's not really that strong. You've got the Lone Druid to go and cut the wave with the bear using the Radiance to cut the creep wave. That helps keep pressure off your base. But besides the Tinker and Marching Machines, they don't really have that much wave clear. So compLexity may be able to get some early push going
10
for them.
seconds
And they do have a
remaining.
nice early game lineup. But I do
5
feel that they
seconds
may
remaining.
stall out before they're able to go high ground. And then we could get into a little bit of a long, drawn-out kind of game as we've got to disconnect immediately. So we're going to get a pause, as we normally do. So we'll just wait for Ewo to connect and Van and Smash to choose their heroes. And we'll get ready to start. Now what's going to be interesting is how many kills compLexity are going to be able to get early on. We've seen a lot of games with South American teams have a ridiculous number of kills. And we've seen Bounty Hunter be very, very strong and very, very important in those kind of games because track gold is just crazy when there's so many kills going out on the map. But we will have to see whether compLexity, which we've seen them play a lot of kind of slower style games, if they're going to be able to sit there and get a bunch of kills and really make that Bounty Hunter be of use to them. Or maybe they're just going to sit back and say, you know what, Elite Wolves, try to play into us because we'll punish you if you do. But honestly, Elite Wolves, they don't really have the roster. They don't really have the lineup to really get in your face and try and constantly make plays and pick you off. Yeah, Smash is going to be able to do it with Beastmaster, but beyond that, they don't really have too many big playmaking, ganking-oriented heroes. But I'm getting into talking about that too much. We've got to introduce everyone here. So let's start with the Radiant side. We've got Elite Wolves. We've got Van playing the Tinker. M-God's going to be on the Dazzle. Smash is going to be on the Beastmaster. Masoku is going to be on the
30
Vengeful
seconds
Spirit,
to battle.
and Iwo is going to be on the Lone Druid. As for our dire side, it's Team compLexity. We've got Swindles playing the Darkseer, Limp's going to be on the Gyrocopter, Handskin's going to be on the Witch Doctor, Z-Freak's on the Bounty Hunter, and Chessie is going to be on the Invoker. And just in time for the horn, signifying the start of the game, and the rune spawning as we're going to get a cask going out and stunning up Van here. As this is going to be our first blood. It's going to go to Limp on the Gyrocopter.
First blood! Now that's how it's done, kids!
As compLexity get both the first initial bounty runes, and even more importantly that first blood, as all the heroes start making their way towards the lanes. Looks like we're going to have the Darkseer in the off lane going up against just the Lone Druid, as Elite Wolves are moving around with their lanes. We've got Z-Freak. We expect him to be moving around, roaming around on the Bounty Hunter, but it looks like Masoku is starting to make his way down towards the bottom as well. In our mid lane, it's going to be the Tinker going up against the Gyrocopter. Notice we've already got a Sentry Ward getting placed, trying to protect that Tinker from the Bounty Hunter. And in the top lane, it's going to be the Dazzle and the Beastmaster going up against this Invoker and Witch Doctor combo. I'm not sure if Masoku is shown in the bottom lane just yet. I don't believe his rotation was spotted by the Bounty Hunter on the way down. But certainly now he has shown himself. So everyone on the opposing team should know where everyone is. So no heroes are surprising anyone just yet. Z-Freak going to drop into Invis and start moving in. There is a Sentry Ward already placed down by the Radiant side. So Z-Freak, he's kind of close to the edge of that. Now he will step into it, so they will know exactly where he is once again. And there comes the ping from Masoku. Trying to open up on the Spirit Bearer just to get a little bit of damage in, but instead, Elite Wolves, they start to right-click Z-Freak and force him back. Take a quick look at our top lane, see how this is going so far. We've got 7-1 CS on Smash and 5-0 on Chessie, so pretty even, but very slight advantage going the way of Elite Wolves. As for our mid lane, Van, he's at 5-2, and Limp is at 6-3, so very even there as well.
Dire's middle tower
Once again,
is under
both
attack.
runes going to compLexity, but Swindles has been stunned up, but he will be able to surge himself and run away. We had Z-Freak rotate towards the bottom rune to pick up the bounty rune, and of course we had just seen Limp go to the top to pick up that haste. This bear's getting quite low, and it looks like compLexity are going to be able to bring it down with that Ion Shell on the Bounty Hunter. This is a great synergy between these two heroes. We see a lot of this between Swindlemelons and Z-Freak. And just compLexity in general. They pick these two heroes that synergize really, really well in the off lane, and it's always Swindlemelons and Z-Freak. And then they rotate down there, they work together, and they almost always win their off lane. And we always see Swindlemelons with this ridiculous amount of CS. He's always somehow leading the game in CS as we get towards the end of the laning phase, despite being an offlaner. And part of that is going to be on the kind of the way that compLexity plays the early game. Like I said, with Z-Freak always kind of being down here and just kind of this roaming around, kind of space creating gameplay. When Z-Freak's down here, it creates space for Swindlemelons in that lane. But when he's not down there, it draws attention away from the bottom lane as they need to go and help somewhere else on the map, mainly their mid, because Z-Freak is putting pressure there. So it's really Z-Freak kind of creating this space all over the place, and here we go. We're going to have MGod TP to the mid lane because Van took some damage there as he got in an exchange with Limp. As Sunstrike came in there, and it was almost going to get the killing blow there, but MGod was there with the shallow grave as Limp was maybe looked like he was going to run at them, but no. He starts heading down towards the bottom rune where he will get lucky. It will be a regen rune as Z-Freak was camping that for him. Now Z-Freak gonna stand in there, mess with the pole, and there's once again that synergy. Put the Ion Shell onto Z-Freak, and then he can stand there, deal some damage to that creeps to those neutral creeps and get a little bit more gold for them. One thing this lane hasn't done is really shut down Ewo, because he's at 21-4. He's our leader in terms of CS. But everyone else not too far behind. Our next two are actually both on the side of complexity. Chessie's at 18-3, and Limp is at 21-6. As it's really just Van, the only one kind of falling behind, and not really that far behind. He's 15-3 right now. But we've seen this lane before, and I believe it was, or most likely it was, but I believe it was complexity playing this up against a Tinker, and I don't remember who played the Tinker. I want to say it was Leviathan? Maybe? I'm not sure, but either way, we have seen this Gyrocopter versus Tinker in the mid lane, and the Gyrocopter just dominated the Tinker. Just a constant homing missile spam was just too much. It was too much for a Tinker to deal with. And now we're seeing that pressure really kind of getting the better of Van and forcing him back. He's actually going to walk all the way back to base. As he needs to go refresh his bottle, and then he'll TP back to the lane, so it won't be the worst. Swindle's actually just ran back to base as well. And TP's back down here, so he's got a fresh mana pool, and he's ready to keep putting pressure on Ewo.
Illusion.
Got Z-Freak and M-God both rotating from the top rune towards top lane. It's obviously M-God does not know that Z-Freak is there.
Radiant's bottom
Stalking
tower
him.
is under attack.
Now Smash and Handskin. It's kind of messing with each other. They're both attacking the boars. Smash, of course, trying to deny the XP from that boar. Z-Freak now going to open up on M-God. Handskin with the the cask. We'll stun him up just long enough for that Sunstrike to come in. And Z-Freak does get the kill there, but great synergy once again using the Invoker. It's homing missile. Look at how much damage it does to Van. This Tinker, it's rough. It is a rough life for that Tinker. And, you know, that's one. Oh, I missed a kill on the bottom lane. As they actually managed to catch Swindle, and the bear almost goes down, drops down to 28 HP. He will have a resummon.
Dire's bottom tower is
We saw
under
just
attack.
how much damage Van took from that one homing missile. And if he's not able to regen back up, he
Dire's
dies to another one.
structures are fortified.
So he just can't
Dire's
really
bottom
deal with
tower
all
is
this
under
constant
attack.
spam. As Z-Freak will get the courier. It's got the bottle on it, and he will.
Radiant's
And oh my
courier has been
goodness.
killed.
That's a complete disaster for Elite Wolves, and this is going to make this laning phase even harder for Van. The Swindles come back down to the bottom lane, but they're just going to dive past the lane tower for him. As he's taking a lot of damage, he'll drop down to 60 HP. Will the bear get another attack? It will, but it's not going to be enough.
Dire's bottom
As Limp
tower
has
is
TP'd
under
down here,
attack.
and so is Handskin, as they're going to try to get some kills. As M-God's in trouble, Shallow Graze himself, he'll die as soon as that's over. And Swindles gets the kill there. Now they're going to try to go after Ewo. I'm not sure if they're going to have enough to get the kill here, as they're going to cask, stun him up. Z-Freak will be able to keep him slowed with the Orb of
Dire's
Venom,
bottom
but
tower has
he's got a
fallen.
lot of HP left, and they will have enough. The Shuriken damage. I didn't realize Z-Freak was already up to level 5.
Dire's top
I was thinking he was
tower
doing
is
a
under
lot of
attack.
moving around early on, but he was, I guess, close enough to the bottom lane to be getting a lot of that XP. I wasn't really keeping tabs on his XP, but level 5, that Shuriken toss does a lot more damage. And they managed to drop Ewo there. So Elite Wolves, once again, trying to go for that aggression, but they maybe go a little bit too far and get punished for it from complexity. And that's exactly what I was talking about as we first entered the game. Talking about that bounty hunter, talking about how important track is going to be. And although those weren't track kills, that's the kind of play that maybe complexity is going to sit back and try to go for. But we
Dire's
have
top
seen
tower is under
complexity
attack.
kind of focus on getting pickoffs, getting a pickoff, and then going and taking down a tier 1 tower or taking down a tier 2 tower, depending on the time of the game. Which I think they're going to have to do against Elite Wolves, because they're scary going late game. You don't want to go late game against a lone druid or a tinker, and certainly not against both of them. Z-Freak's going to stealth on in, but he's immediately going to get stunned up. That primal roar from Smash will lock down that bounty hunter, so they do get a kill. The Sunstrike comes in. Smash actually gets the shallow grave cast. I'm going to make sure that he doesn't go down, and both MGod and him will get out of there alive. As we're going to actually have Handskin head back to the fountain. He's out of mana. Check in on Limp, who at 47 and 13 CS right now. See how Van's been able to recover here. He's down to 39 and 3, so he's dropped 10 CS behind the gyrocopter now.
Bottom tower is under
He's up to 1600 gold as I miss a kill on the top as Mizoku and Smash dive past the tower. And that was without a primal roar. So obviously there was a wraparound there from Mizoku, as Smash just barely able to TP out there as Limp came in from the side. I was thinking that Handskin was going to be able to find Mizoku, but no, he hides in the trees.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Upon this life.
And in the bottom lane, Swindles drops the wall of replica as the lone druid just kind of keeps doing the elevator walk. You know what I'm talking about? Where someone's behind a couch and they do that elevator walk. He was kind of walking on place there as he slowly sunk further and further into the ground. But the kill goes to the Darkseer, as I wasn't really expecting there to be a lot of kills early on in this game, but they're proving me wrong. We've got 10 kills in 11 minutes.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
As take a look at the last hits, and the top 3 are all on the side of complexity, but Elite Wolves, they're not really that far behind. They're only losing out by a couple CS here or there for at least their lone druid and the tinker. The Beastmaster's a little bit further behind. But we've seen these relatively early Necrobook pickups on the Beastmaster, and it has just been so effective. We're already seeing a level 1 up here on Smash. But once that hits level 3, they'll be able to scout out the Bounty Hunter much easier. As Ewo's getting initiated on here, and he's running away from his team. He will get swapped by Mizoku, but that's swapping him further and further into the ranks of complexity as he's going to go down, but Elite Wolves do manage to bring down Limp, and now Handskin's in trouble, but he'll drop that Death Ward, and it will get him the kill onto MGod. As Z-Freak comes on in here, he's here with Chessie. Swindle's coming in as well. It's a 3-on-3 right here, but there is a March of the Machines, and the Complexity's taking a lot of damage, so they will in turn run away as Elite Wolves will return back to the top lane.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
That was a pretty interesting exchange. It does end up a 2 for 2, and take a look at the gold change. It is pretty much dead even. So not much separating these teams just yet. 7 kills apiece, 2 kills apiece in that one fight alone. And very, very little between these two teams. Mizoku trying to commit for that tower, not going to be able to find it. The deny is there from Limp. As Mizoku tries to run away, Sunstrike brings him down to 19 HP. As he's going to get tracked up, called down, just barely going to be off the mark. As Mizoku keeps trying to juke in the trees, but not going to be able to find a way out of it. As Limp gets the kill. And take a look at how much track gold. That's a 900 gold swing going in favor of complexity just from one kill with that track gold, just being level 1 track. And that's just how important this bounty hunter is going to be as we move forward in the game if this kind of pace continues. Now 15 kills in 13 minutes.
Radiant structures are fortified.
Just notice the sentry ward getting placed up by MGod. They're really aware that there could be a wraparound from the bounty hunter, him coming in from behind. As they're going to place another sentry ward, this time finding an observer ward from complexity. Z-Freak will get the double invis by picking up the invis rune on the bounty hunter. Van now's picked up his boots of travel. He's head down to the bottom lane as the March of Machines spam will kind of begin. As he's going to constantly be boots of traveling back to the fountain, getting his mana back up, and rearming, and then heading back to a lane and just constantly keeping the lanes as pushed as he can. It should help to create some space for Ewo, but Z-Freak, his job is going to be to hunt down that lone droid and make sure that he does not have an easy time, as he's going to open up onto Ewo now, as they were waiting for this. Because as soon as Z-Freak opened up, Ewo pops the dust, reveals him, Van TP's on into the bear, and Z-Freak just got annihilated. Masoku ends up coming in, but turns out that ends up just being a little bit of a feed. Hanskin comes in from behind with Chessie, drops a death ward, as they will be able to interrupt the Tinker's TP, as they get a very valuable kill there on Van. So what was a pretty good play from Elite Wolves actually ends up in them losing their Tinker and their Venge, and they end up losing one extra hero there just for the kill on the bounty, so it doesn't end up being worth it, but it was a good setup to initiate everything.
Dire's middle tower
I don't think Z-Freak even checked the items on the lone droid. Now, I could have been wrong, but you don't really expect a lone droid to have picked up a dust that early in the game.
Dire's middle tower has fallen.
You see the mid tier 1 tower go down here. At the same time, compLexity got the bottom tier 1. Seeking missiles will fly in. Not really doing too much damage. But look at this. Chessie's gone into the Roche pit. Starting to solo Roche. But now he'll back away because Elite Wolf's starting to rotate in, and Z-Freak once again has been stunned up. And he'll die to the Primal Roar of all things.
Welcome to the food chain.
The bear's in there doing a
Dire's
little bit of
middle
counter
tower
warding.
is under attack.
Invisibility.
Now Elite Wolf's taking a quick peek at Roche. You can see that he's missing health, and they're actually going to go for it. Despite the fact that compLexity is so close by, Forge Spirit going to be walking on in. It won't actually get inside the pit because the March of the Machines. The second one, however, will actually not walk into the pit either. But it will go down. compLexity is so close. Ewo's still just standing nearby, letting the bear try and solo Roche. And now Smash pops some his Necker books and his summons as Van TP's in, and looks like Roche is going to go down here without compLexity really engaging. This is very, very difficult for them to engage. I understand why. The Aegis is going to go up on Ewo.
Shadow wave.
Yeah, that is just so difficult for compLexity to try to engage into.
Radiant's top
Now we're going to have a
tower is under
swap
attack.
onto Swindle Melons, as Chessie's actually going to toss that Venge up in the air. But Swindles is the first to go down, not able to get his Guardian Greaves off. He just finished those, as well as Masoku just barely going to survive there, thanks to the shallow grave protecting him from that call-down. As the bear starts chasing down Chessie and Hanskin, there was a TP in from Van, but he ends up canceling it. You can really tell how familiar and how comfortable Elite Wolves are with playing this kind of synergy with the Tinker and the Beastmaster, and the Tinker and the Lone Druid. Seeing a lot of these TPs coming in from Van. And then just that little kind of cheeky play at Roche Pit. Ewo standing outside, Bear inside, tanking it up, and doing a lot of damage to Roche. And then Smash was just kind of sitting invis in the pit. But then eventually he popped all his summons. And really started bringing down Roche. And now Ewo's up to 3,900 gold. And one of the things that's really interesting about this is you don't always see an Aegis get put on a Lone Druid, certainly not early on in the game. But what I like about this actually protects him from any potential ganks that are going to happen early on, that are going to set him back from his relic, and certainly set him back from the Radiance. The rest would be the whole thing, the whole item as a whole. And compLexity may be able to put pressure on that Lone Druid, but even if you get one kill, it's not really going to set him back. You need to get two. because that Aegis just really protects him from that, and that makes it almost impossible for compLexity to really go and stop this lone druid from getting that radiance. The reason that you don't always see it get put up on a lone druid is because you want to kind of use it more aggressively and use it so that you can push a tower. But Elite Wolves really are showing no interest in doing that. They've got a Tinker, they've got a lone druid, they have no reason to go and push early on. They can sit back and farm and just get the towers a little bit later on in the game. So let's quickly cycle through everyone and see who's got what. We've got Van with his Boots of Travel and his Blink Dagger. Looks like we've got the makings of a Dagon for him. God's got his Arcane Boots up and typical support stuff. We've got Necrobook 3 up on Smash. Brown Boots and 1800 gold, so expect his Blink Dagger most likely to be coming out soon. We got Masoku with his Arcanes and a Mech, so almost, well, just needs the Guardian Greaves recipe. Not sure if he's actually going to pick it up. A Smash. He's getting chased down there by compLexity as Masoku gets to swap off Z-Freak once again, our first hero to fall in the fight. This Van's just sitting there throwing out some homing missiles. We're actually going to have a buyback from Z-Freak as their hero's getting chased all over the place here. I'm trying to find where the action's going to be. Looks like Masoku might be our next hero to go down as Swindlemelons, just standing on top of him with the Iron Shell, but once again, there's that Shallow Grave keeping him alive, as Chessie's actually our first hero to go down. And Masoku still manages to live as Swindles goes down instead, and now Limp is in trouble. So is Z-Freak. He bought back for this, and he's dead. It's an unstoppable streak for Smash. As Limp will finally go down there, as compLexity lose everyone except for Handskin, who's gone on a little bit of a trek here up into the top lane to hide into the trees, just to TP back to safety. But a huge teamfight win for Elite Wolves. This unfortunately doesn't show us the entire story of what happened in that teamfight. But it was a 4-0. We almost saw Masoku go down, but God has been on point with these Shallow Graves, just keeping everyone alive, not just the Venge.
Dire's middle tower has fallen.
And boy, did it ever work out for them in that fight. They also get a tier 2 tower, and look at this. It's been compLexity early on, but that last fight, just Elite Wolves exploded way ahead, and now they're going to find another kill as they get the Primal Roar off onto Swindlemelons. That was Smash blinking on in with that newly acquired Blink Dagger on the Beastmaster as they bring down that Darkseer. And that brings Ewo up to 1400 gold now. He's already got the Radiance completed. As all, Swap's going to bring back Limp as he just gets blown up. And this looks like it could be an early one. We were thinking maybe this is going to go late. But looks like we might be wrong on this as compLexity's just falling apart all over the place. As Elite Wolves, they've hit their stride and they've hit it. They've hit it well. As there's just kills happening everywhere. Van is just able to jump forward, just use all of his nukes, use the Dagon, just blow up heroes, and there's nothing that compLexity are able to do about it. Chessie will have to drop into the Ghost Walk, but that's not even going to allow him to get away there, as Van once again TP's on in and just zaps him with that Dagon. As I would not be surprised to see compLexity just kind of bow out of this one, as they're just... This situation's spiraling out of control, and it's not really going to look good for them going later and later into this game. As there it is, the GG gets called by Swindlemelons. As we expected to maybe see this bounty hunter give them a bunch of gold in some of these early skirmishes. We had a lot of kills. We had 31 kills in 23 minutes. But look at that last fight, all of a sudden, or that one big fight, all of a sudden Elite Wolves just exploded way ahead, and they ended up with over a 15k gold lead. Wow, that one got out of control real fast. As, wow. Honestly, the star of the early game, I have to say, was Z-Freak. I think he did a lot early on in the bottom lane. Yeah, he didn't really stop the Lone Druid from getting too much farm, but he had that very crucial snipe on the Courier in the mid lane, stopping Van. That really set Van back. But Van was still able to get back in the game. He got his Boots of Travel up, and then he was able to get out on the map and farm a little bit. And then we saw that big play at Roche, which honestly was gigantic. It was just, that was the moment where Elite Wolves all of a sudden they'd gotten into a position in the Roche pit, and there was no way that compLexity was going to be able to get in there and engage. And from that point forward, it was just, well, now we can safely farm and finish our Radiance on the Lone Druid. And pretty much once that happened, everything else came together. We had the Beastmaster with the Necro 3 finished. We had the Blink Dagger up on Van. Then he had the Dagon finished soon after, which meant they won that big fight with the Radiance and the Blink on the Tinker in the Dire Side jungle. And then after that, it was just, that was it. That was pretty much the end of the game. It just snowballed out of control from there. As wow, I'm honestly a little stunned because compLexity actually had a decent early game, and then it just kind of completely fell apart. But we'll look to see if they're going to be able to rebound off of that, as we've got Game 2 coming up in just a few minutes. But Elite Wolves, 14-7 on the month. They're looking very, very good still. But we've got Game 2 coming up in a minute, so don't go anywhere.